Alrighty guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be reviewing my 2006 Ford Mustang GT. Really this is going to be a review of the 05 to 09 Mustangs, but mine specifically is a 2006 GT Premium. And to give you guys a quick little update on the car, I have changed two things. I now have a ducktail instead of my stock pedestal spoiler with the wicker bill. I will be getting a wicker bill for this. But for now, this is just how it sits. I've always wanted a ducktail, so finally got the chance to get one. I just threw it on. I really like it. Excited to get the wicker bill for it. And the other thing I changed is I now have bucket seats. These are the Energy Prisma Ultras. I got them in purple. Kind of the theme, as you guys can see with my shift knob and stuff. Yeah, I like these a lot. Pretty comfortable, hold me in very well. Still waiting on a harness bar and harnesses though I will be getting soon. I'll probably post a video of installing that, maybe help you guys out if you want to get, bucket seats. But those are the only two things that have changed, I think, since my build breakdown video. Other than that, everything's pretty much the exact same. Yeah, so let's get right into it. Alrighty, so first we got pricing. And the prices of these cars are relatively cheap, I would say. You're gonna be looking between 10 to 14 grand. And with that budget right there, you'll be able to get a pretty nice one. I got mine for $13,000 and it had 57,000 miles on it, which is really low. But you can expect to find one probably closer to 100,000 or less than 100,000. With closer to 14 grand, you'll probably be lower mileage, 80,000. But obviously, the lower the price, the more high the miles are going to be most likely. You might be able to negotiate, but what you can expect to spend is around 10 to 14 grand for a nice one. Anything below 10 grand can still be pretty nice. I mean, there's, every now and then people just need to get rid of something. But below 10 grand, you might get a higher mileage, a little more wear and tear. So just keep that in mind. But the budget you can look for is really 10 to 14 grand, and that's where these cars will sit all day. It depends on your area. I mean, it might be a little higher, lower, but that's about where you'll start looking, Alrighty, up next is power. So the power these cars make from factory is 300 crank horsepower and 320 pound-feet of torque. So it's not a staggering number, you're not going to be like blown away by this, but you got to remember this is a bit of an older car. This can be like a 15-plus-year-old car, depending on what year you have. So if we're comparing it to like the Coyote and stuff, obviously it does not make as much power or as much torque, but it is plenty of power for this car. You can do stuff like full bolt-on or supercharge or turbo the car, up to you. Full bolt-on, you can expect around 360 wheel horsepower on these, give or take, obviously some. But supercharger or turbo, you can easily make 400, 500 plus. Really, it's better to turbo or supercharge these cars than to full bolt on it, just for the price, for the money. You're going to get, more bang for your buck if you supercharge or turbo the car. From factory, though, obviously, like I said, they don't make a lot of power, but it is plenty of power for this car, and it was a good amount when the car came out. So, that being said, this car is fun to drive, and it does not feel super underpowered, as some people might expect. It's not the heaviest car. I believe they're around 3,500 pounds. Don't quote me on that, but I believe they're around 3,500 pounds. And they make, obviously, the 300 crank horsepower, which translates to 260, 270 wheel horsepower, give or take. But, I mean, it is enough power for this car, and it is enough to have fun in it. And obviously, you probably won't keep it stock for long, like most of us car enthusiasts. But you can make a little more power. So, I mean, don't worry about that too much. It is enough power for the car, and you will have fun in it. So yeah, let's go right into the styling of this car. I think this car is, in my opinion, the best looking modern Mustang. I know some people love the 13 to 14s, but personally, I really love this. They did a really good job with this car. Yeah, I mean, it's very blocky, but it looks so good. It's very retro inspired. I feel like you can really tell that it's a Mustang. It stays very true to like its heritage. It looks very, very good. A lot of people complain about the interior being dated, and while I can definitely agree with that, I have updated mine a little bit. So right here we got, I also did get seats. I don't think this is my last video, but I did get new seats. I'm still waiting on a harness bar, and I'm gonna do harnesses as well for this, so that I can be secured. But on the inside, I mean, the only things that really feel dated to me is the radio. And as you can see, I have an updated radio, so you can definitely, you know, bypass that of the feeling of it being so dated. I really think the radio is the main point. The interior is a little blocky. I mean, all of this, like, you know, all the panels are very squared, very blocky, but I think it fits the car very well. I think it's very much like, I don't know, it's right on track for how this car was designed. I think everything flows together really well. I would just recommend you get an updated radio, because the stock radio, I mean, it's all right. It's just obviously very dated. It's not a touchscreen. It's got the buttons. I think a CD player. I had mine in for a little bit, but I don't really remember. All right, up next is reliability. Are these Mustangs reliable? The short answer is yes. I have daily drove this car for the last year, a little over a year now, and it has gave me minimal issues. I have drove it through the summer and through the winter, so I literally drove it all year here in Illinois. And I had no issues in the winter either, surprisingly, right? I was expecting to have a hassle, you know, headache. Was not bad. I threw some winter tires on this thing, chugged along just fine, no problem. Really, I mean, as long as you're on top of your maintenance with this car, it will not give you a lot of issues. These are very reliable cars. The motor is very capable. The motor can last upwards of 300,000 miles. I have seen plenty of people with that. Obviously, I have a lower mileage one, so I don't got to worry about much of that for the meantime. But I mean, I have friends with higher mileage, and I mean, all of these guys, we all beat on our cars, you know what I mean? I'm not gentle on this car, so I think that's a good, like, testament to it. It really shows that this car can handle the beating, it can handle the daily driving, and it will be reliable for you and fun. Alrighty, up next is practicality. And that kind of just means, like, how practical is it to drive this car? Like, can you daily drive this? Is it going to be an issue? That sort of thing. Are you going to have space for, you know, stuff you want to bring with you, for friends, whatever it is? And the answer is, it is a pretty practical car. Now, I'm a bit of a younger guy. I'm 21 years old, and I do regularly have my friends in this car. So, I mean, I have took around 4 people. You have 4 seats, so that's, I mean, plenty of space. It's kind of like a normal car, kind of expected. But you have 4 seats, so you can haul around your homies if you want. And then you also have a good amount of room inside of the car. It's not super cramped. I mean, I don't feel like I'm in, I don't know, a Miata or like a Honda S2000 or a 350Z even, because it's a 2-seater. It does not feel super cramped. Even my mom's G35 also feels super cramped compared to this. I feel like you got a lot of space in this. And for storage, let's see, you got a pretty solid trunk, I would say, you know, especially if you don't have a shaker. I do have a shaker 1000 because it's a premium, but I have it out right now. I'm going to be doing a custom sub setup. But I mean, look at the trunk space. You got plenty of room, and you can also fold down the rear seats if you need a little more room to carry something a little longer. And then obviously inside the car, we all know, it does have plenty of space. Even in the back seat, it might not look like a crazy amount of space, but it is enough room. I have been back there a bunch of times. Had a couple friends back there, and no real issues. I mean, obviously, it's not going to be like an SUV, but there is plenty of room for you and your friends, you and your storage. I mean, if you're going to go somewhere, there is plenty of room to store stuff in this car. And then you have, obviously, your center console has a little bit of storage in there, and then your glove box. The glove box is honestly kind of useless. That one, to me, is a little surprising, but the center console has a fair amount of room, and then obviously the trunk and the back seats have plenty of space for you. So honestly, this car is pretty practical. You can, you know, daily driving, get your groceries in it, no sweat. So don't worry about that kind of thing, like, oh, I'm not going to have room. I mean, unless you're trying to carry around like huge boxes and stuff, you're not going to really run into that issue. I have helped a friend move in this car, and I carried a bunch of boxes in here, but obviously you're not going to carry something huge like a bicycle in the back of this, you know what I mean? So obviously think about that. If you need something for that, obviously this probably isn't the right car for you. All right, so let's talk about the driving experience of this car. So that's kind of include, you know, your sound, handling, visibility, fuel consumption on this car. So up first, I mean, handling wise, from the factory, these cars have a little bit of body roll, obviously. It's kind of high up, but you can combat this with some lowering springs, coilovers, whatever your preference is. Obviously my car is on coilovers, and I have a couple upgraded rear suspension parts, some new front suspension parts as well. So this car handles great. It really handles really good. With a few mods, you can get these cars, and like I said, really it'll just handle phenomenal. A lot better than I expected, to be honest with you. I really expected it to kind of be like a boat. I never had an American car like this. I never had a muscle car. So I was a little surprised that the handling was actually this good. And then let's talk about the sound on this car. The sound of this car is like nothing else, really. I mean, everybody knows the 3-valve sounds fantastic. These cars just sound so good. I mean, I really don't know why, but the 3-valve motor, just such a great sounding motor. It's super fun to drop the windows, go around, you know, do a couple pulls, downshift, whatever. It's so fun. I love hearing this car. Everybody on the road loves it. I get people always complimenting how good the car sounds. All of my friends are like, wow, this thing sounds phenomenal. And it really does. I mean, truly, it sounds fantastic. For the fuel consumption on this car, obviously, it's not super great. It is a V8. But I get around 15 to 17 miles per gallon on average. Obviously, give or take, you know, a mile or two, depending on how you're driving. If you're, you know, hooning around, having fun, you're going to get lower gas mileage. But if you are, you know, behaving yourself, just kind of cruising around, you will get decent gas mileage. But I would say you can expect to fill up once a week at least. But I would say it's worth it for what you're getting and the fun you're going to have. And really, I mean, it's just hard to go back to another car after this, because this car is all around great, you know what I mean? So the fuel consumption, really, yes, you will spend a little more than if you had something like, say, a Honda or something, but obviously you're getting a lot more fun than other cars. Something else I want to talk about, though, real quick, is visibility. Obviously, you guys can see this has a big hood. So it is a little strange to me, especially if you're on the shorter side. I really couldn't see like the hood. It was a little awkward to me. But I did get used to it. And I will say it takes a little bit to get used to the proportions of this car, because it is kind of big and blocky. But the visibility is better than I expected for the most part. Except for this A-pillar. You can kind of see over there too. It's kind of like a blind spot almost. It's just kind of a little thicker than I would have expected. So just keep that in mind, that sometimes you might not see, like, I don't know, just small objects. I mean, really, you'll see most things, but it is kind of in the way. And then the quarter windows back here, those are also a little strange to me. I had louvers originally, so I feel like once I took them off, I had a lot more visibility when, like, reversing or just shoulder checking when I was going to get over. All right, so up next, I want to talk about the aftermarket support on these cars. And I want to say there's tons of options for these cars. As you guys can see, obviously my car is not stock, but you can really just shop around and get a million ideas. I mean, there's a bunch of good websites. To give you guys a few off the start, there's LMR, which is late model restoration. I use them a lot primarily. I also got my wheels from them. SVE is their wheel company. I also use American Muscle every now and then. I mean, there's also CJ Pony. I believe it's CJ Pony parts. And then there's True Fiber, which makes carbon fiber fenders, the hoods, the deck lids. I believe they make a ducktail as well, but it's really expensive, so I didn't get that one. But I do have the True Fiber deck lid panel. So, I mean, they do make quality parts, and there's, you know, a couple people that make custom parts. There's 66 Polar Customs, who made my diffuser here, and he also made my stock pedestal spoiler, the wicker bill I used to have on. I will be getting the wicker bill again for the ducktail from him. But there's a couple other people. Carter's Customs, I believe, is another one. I think he makes side skirts and front splitters. He makes quality work as well. But really, I mean, you can join a couple Facebook groups for these cars and stuff, and you can ask around a bunch of questions for this car. And people will answer and help you out. They can give you some links. But there's tons of aftermarket support for this car. I mean, both exterior and interior. I mean, there's a bunch of front bumper options. I mean, you can get like a Roush, you can get the California Special like I have. There's tons of other ones. There's Saline, the Saline Reps, a couple other ones in there. And then interior wise, I mean, There's a couple different seat options you can go with. There's a couple steering wheel options you can go with. I mean, you can really do anything you want with these cars. Something I want to briefly touch on is insurance on these cars. So like I said earlier, I'm 21 years old, and I do pay for and insure this car all on my own. I'm not on my parents' plan. And per month, I pay $250. So obviously that is not super cheap paired with the gas costs and whatever other maintenance you might have. So I want you to keep that in mind. If you're a younger guy, really I would recommend calling your insurance company or whoever you want to insure with, you know what I mean? And get a quote from them on how much it's going to be for one of these. So really keep this in mind, because I did not think about it at all, and it was a little more expensive than I thought. I will say it is worth it, but it is a little expensive, and if you're in school and stuff like that, you might not be able to afford it. So just keep that in mind before you go to get one, and then you're like, oh wow, I can't really afford insurance and gas and maintenance. So just keep that in mind, because I don't want you guys to be disappointed, you know, if you get the car and then end up having to get rid of it really soon after. That would really suck. If you can be on your parents' plan, that will save you some money. I kind of wish I was on my parents' plan, but I'm not, so I am paying for this myself. So really just keep that in mind. See if your parents can help you out there. If they can, that's awesome. Then you can really afford it a little easier. But, you know, obviously just take that into consideration before you get one of these. Let's talk about a couple common problems on these cars. So one super big common problem on these cars is the fueling system. I believe it is directly the evap, but sometimes when you go to fill up the gas in this car, it'll stop filling up and the car is not full. It happened to me really early into when I got the car, and I was really confused as to what happened. I was like, well, the car is, you know, pretty empty. I'm like, I know this isn't full. Like, what the hell is going on here? And that is an evap issue. A ton of these 3 valves have it. You'll see a lot of owners flip the nozzle upside down. So that is a way to, you know, combat this and get around it. It's like a little loophole. You can just flip the nozzle upside down and fill it up to full. But that is just the evap. I recommend getting that fixed. I mean, it's pretty cheap, I believe. I haven't done it just because I'm lazy and it hasn't happened in a while, but I got to get on that at some point. And I do recommend, you know, you ask if it's been an issue before. It's not a big deal though. I mean, like I said, you can just flip the nozzle upside down and go around it, bypass that. But just keep that in mind, because it might catch you, you know, off guard. Up next, I want to talk about the door panels. So this panel right here, I'll show you my other side in a second. So as you can see right here, it's peeling. And the other side was really bad. It was peeling all in the center here and over here, all around. Honestly, it's just the adhesive behind them is just kind of shitty. And this happens on every single 3 valve. This will happen at one point or another on your 3 valve. So keep that in mind. There are a couple ways to, you know, fix this. I mean, you can clean off the adhesive, and you can re-adhesive it, you know what I mean? Put new adhesive behind it and stick it back on. Or they sell a plastic insert. Or, I mean, obviously you can go to like a upholstery. I forgot how you say that, upholstery shop. And they can fix them for you. I had a friend do that. It came out really nice. You can get new leather, obviously, if you want to change the color or something like that. But they do sell plastic inserts, which is, I think, what I'm going to do. Because, I mean, nothing can sag at that point. It's just plastic. And it'll look a lot nicer than, obviously, just failing like that. So let me show you guys the other side real quick, so you guys can see what I mean. So I did peel it off all the way because it was just an eyesore, annoying to look at. So this is how my other side looks right now. You can see there's a little bit of this stuff still stuck on it. I haven't got a chance to go over it with really a wire brush yet. But I'm going to clean this off, and I'm going to get the plastic inserts. I'll probably make a video of those. But yeah, I mean, this is a huge plague of these cars. It's really annoying. Literally happens with every single one I know. Even some of my friends with lower mileage than my car too have had this issue. It just happens to every single one. You can't avoid it. That being said, there's also hood peeling that happens a lot. I don't know if you guys can see right here, but this is starting to peel right here on my hood, and it always starts in like this corner right here. I have a couple friends obviously with these cars, and it happens all the time to them. I don't know why, but it's just another plague of these cars. The hood likes to peel right there. I don't know like why that happens, but it does happen. So just kind of look for that. You might be able to use it as a bargaining chip if you know you're trying to buy one from a used seller or from a private seller, I mean. Another issue is the alternators on these cars. They're not the greatest, so they can have issues like dying and stuff like that. I just replaced my alternator, so I actually just went through that. I recommend getting a 2010 Mustang alternator because they have a higher ampage. It's just better for these cars all around, so you might as well upgrade to that one. And then up next, I've heard stuff about the cam phasers on these cars, you know, going bad. I have not had that issue. I do have an extra set of cam phasers at my house from the previous owner because he thought that was going to be a problem. Turned out it was not the problem. The Shaker 1000 also, which is the sound system in this car if you have a GT Premium, or even the V6 Premium I think has it, but I had the Shaker 1000. There's also a Shaker 500, but they have been known to occasionally drain the battery and stuff. I have not really dealt with that, but I have heard of a few people saying that, oh, like my Shaker drained my battery. I'm not really sure why. I guess it's just gotta be a shitty setup, to be honest with you. Classic Ford there, but yeah, I mean, it hasn't happened to me, and it hasn't happened to any of my friends yet so far, but I have heard it happening in my Facebook groups and stuff like that for these cars. Besides that though, I mean, there's not really much that's like gonna be a big issue on these cars. There might be some rust. Obviously it's an older car, so really look out for that. It's like that could be a common issue on these, but that's really just any older car. All right, so the final overall kind of just, is it worth getting a 2005 to 2009 Mustang? And the answer is yes, absolutely. This car is phenomenal. I've had tons of fun. I absolutely love the styling, love the sound, love the handling. This car has a lot of character, and really it's just so fun. And I've met a lot of great people from this car. It's got a lot of support in the community, and I mean, you really just cannot go wrong with this car. There's not really much else out there that you'll be able to get like today in today's market that will have this much support and, you know what I mean, everything like that. It's not gonna, there's nothing that comes close to this car in my opinion for the price. This is a great value for your money, and I really recommend getting one. And it's a great first car to build on. It's a great car to learn in. I mean, really, it's just great in every single aspect. And it's reliable and relatively cheap. All right, guys, so that concludes my 05 to 09 Mustang review. Let me know down in the comments below what you guys think. Is there anything I missed? Is there anything you guys would like for me to cover a little more in depth? I absolutely can. Just let me know in the comments below what you guys like, dislike. And really, if you agree with me, if this car is, you know, worth the money, or if you think, no, this car is not worth the money, let me know why. And yeah, I mean, like, comment, subscribe, share this. Really helps me out. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.